بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Today, inshallah, will be the last session for this novel course, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what has been done and to put barakah in it and to help us to be dedicated to his religion, doing that which pleases him in our life, inshallah. So I have kafala with me, which is a guarantee contract where a person accepts to take the responsibility of settling the debt of somebody in case there is a failure from that principal debtor to pay the debt. Or it might be kafala in nafs, this kafala in al-mal or the loan, and you have also the kafala in nafs, the kafala in nafs, whereby the person in the court guaranteed to bring the person to bring another person back. So we will be dealing with these two types of guarantee contract. So literally, it means kafala. It means protection. It means it means a combination of responsibility. Joining somebody. That's why it's defined here as joining of obligation to another obligation with regard to joining of one obligation to another obligation with regard to it. So somebody is obliged to pay something or to do something, you want to join him in that responsibility. In case he fails, you will be responsible. So this is so in kafala of a person, in kafala, a person joins another person in undertaking a certain obligation. Consequently, both persons become jointly liable to meet any claim that may arise from the obligation. So this is exactly what I said. Guarantee means somebody is there being responsible to do something, to pay something, to come back to somewhere, and you undertake that responsibility, saying that in case this person fails, you're responsible. So you're going to pay the debt, you're going to bring him back, you're going to do the thing, whatsoever is in question. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Wazaimu ba'ari." Shorty or character is there. So you said, "Ana za'im." Za'im means in this sense, in its context, za'im doesn't mean a leader. It means somebody who undertook a responsibility. That's exactly. So he is going to bear liability. Whatever happens, we come back. And if you remember in the hadith of Abu Qatada, the Prophet ﷺ, when it comes to the loan, if a person has a loan on his shoulder, he reaches a point whereby he doesn't pray for his janazah. If a person borrows money from others and he did not pay before death, the Prophet ﷺ used to refuse to pray for their janazah. So that person was brought to the Prophet ﷺ and he refused to pray for his janazah. Why is that? Because he has around 3 dirhams, I guess, on his shoulder to be paid. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Did he leave something to pay off the debt?" They said, "No, Ya Rasulullah." And then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Sallu ala sahibikum." You guys should pray for your brother. I will not pray for him. So Abu Qatada says, "Ya Rasulullah, salli alayhi wa alayya dayn." He said, "Ya Rasulullah, please pray for him, and I will be responsible to pay that debt. It is my responsibility." So that's kafala. We guarantee to pay. In this sense, it is confirmed that he has to pay because that person is dead and he died without having or leaving something to pay off the debt. So Abu Qatada said, "I'm responsible." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Hatta dayn wa bari'a al-madin حق الغريب وبرئ المغرب. The Prophet ﷺ said that what do you mean? حق الدين وبرئ القريب. He said, what do you mean? Do you mean that now the loan is established on your shoulder, وبرئ القريب, and that person is the debtor is free from any responsibility? Abu Qatada says, yes, Ya Rasulullah. Then the Prophet ﷺ prays for that person. So this is kafala. Next slide. Okay, kafala can be immediate, can be conditional, can be contingent. Okay, it's suspended. Okay. Immediate means I guarantee immediately. That tell them that I'm the guarantor. Just give him, I will be responsible. Conditional, for instance, if he says to him that if you borrow less than 500, I will guarantee. So that means if he is to borrow 501 cents, you do have a right to say no. No to what? No to the whole thing, or no to only the additional amount. You do have a right to say no to the whole thing, because you tell him only 500 if you want to do the buying. To show mercy, you can tell him that which goes above and on top, I am not responsible. Contingent or suspended is the one that you tell him that starting from the year 2024, whatever you borrowed, I will be the amount. Starting from that year. So that means if he is to borrow something a second before the year, you do have a right to say that, because you told him starting from that. So this type of contract, majority of the scholars accepted it, and the Shafi'i says no. It has to be it has to be immediate. But the best opinion is the one that says this is ma'ruf. You are doing kindness to a person. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So this is just charity I give it to, support and help. That's not what. So you tell him, starting from this year, starting from next year, I can guarantee your loans. But now I don't do that. Okay, next. Types of kafala. Okay, we have two types of kafala. Kafala in person, this is kafala to bil mal wal kafala to bil nafs. Kafala to bil nafsi wal kafala to bil al mal. Kafala in person. This only happens, in the case of the court, and in court cases, issues that are related to court. So whereby you need somebody to be brought back, the judge needs somebody to be brought back, and you told them, I'm responsible to bring you back. You get idea this kafala. So you guarantee to bring that person back to the court. In kafala in a claim, so in the first one, you are not responsible to settle the debts or any responsibility on his shoulder. You are responsible to bring his body. Okay? You are responsible to bring his body. But in the second one, you are not responsible to bring his body to the court, but you are responsible to settle the debt in case he fails. This is kafala in a claim or a property. Get the idea? So you are responsible to bring his body, but you are responsible to bring, to settle the debt. In this case, the guarantor is liable to, if the creditor or the owner of the thing dies. Who is responsible if that person dies? That's the debtor. If the debtor dies, who is responsible? The guarantor is responsible, but this responsibility is supposed to be extracted from the estate of the debtor. Only if it cannot settle, then we move to the guarantor, according to the best opinion. According to the best opinion, if let's say the debtor dies, the one that you guarantee, who is responsible to settle the debt? You are responsible. You are responsible. But as I said, the best opinion, we should check the estate of the debtor first. If we can take the loan from his money, then we don't need to go to the guarantor. The guarantor doesn't need to pay. We settle the money from that. Only if we cannot do that, then we go to him. We ask him to pay that which he undertook. So that's it. The heir of the creditor or the owner of the thing can demand the guarantor to settle the debt or return. So that's it. When the debtor dies, the heirs of the creditor, they do have a right to demand the right from the guarantor. Yeah. But as I said, they have to check with the family of the debtor first, the principal debtor. Only if his estate cannot, settle the debt, then we move to the guarantor. That's the fair opinion. Okay, next slide. Okay, termination of the guarantee. So these are all simple matters. They are all based on the conditions, and the terms, and conditions, set up by the two contracting parties when the contract is is finalized. So when the debtor, how to terminate this contract? Okay, when the debt is settled by the principal debtor or by the guarantor. So when the debt is settled, that's very clear. The contract is gone. When the creditor releases, this is what we call al-ibra. The principal debtor, the guarantor is released also. I borrow money from one of you, and somebody guaranteed the loan. Somebody guaranteed the loan. But then that person who is my creditor forgives. He said, I don't need to pay the debt. So if this is the case, then the guarantor also is released. If he releases me from the responsibility, automatically the guarantor is released. Because of the legal maxim that says, إِذَا سَقَطَ الْأَصْلُ سَقَطَ مَا أَبُنِيَ عَلَيْهِ أَوْ سَقَطَ. When the root is gone, the branches are going to follow. So the guarantor is actually a branch, on a branch of the debt. If the debtor settled the debt, then the case is closed. If he's released by the creditor from being responsible, then the case is closed. The guarantor also shouldn't be responsible because the principal, the principal who is the root is released. So that's how it is. So if a creditor releases the guarantor from the claim, not from the debt, in this case, the principal debtor is released. So there is another scenario where the creditor says to the guarantor, you don't need to be responsible. I release you from this responsibility. If he agrees to do that, the claim remains. The claim remains on the shoulder of the debtor. If he refuses to, if he releases the guarantor, the claim remains. So you can see the difference. If the debtor is released, the guarantor also is released automatically. But if he cannot release the debtor and charge the creditor, he cannot. He has to keep both of them, or release the guarantor and look for his right from the debtor. But if he releases the guarantor, the claim remains on the shoulder of the principal debtor. But if he releases the principal debtor, automatically the guarantor is gone. So this is kafala. Doesn't have that much, but up to date you can see the application of this type of contract is always there. Next, you buy cars, you buy houses. We all use this guarantee contract up to date. When the guarantor settles the claims through arbitration. This one is obvious. Death of the surety, the guarantor, for the property does not terminate the surety of the for the property does not terminate the contract of the kafala. In this case, the debt will be discharged from the estate of the guarantor. So let's say that the guarantor died. It doesn't mean the contract is terminated. It remains. So we still take extract the payment of the loan from his estate. So it's like he is making wasiyah. We take it from his estate. However, the death of the principal debtor or the guarantor in the contract of kafala of a person terminates the contract. So this is applicable to the kafala in a claim, not kafala in a person. Kafala in a person, if one of them dies, the creditor, I'm sorry, the kafil, which is the guarantor or the debtor, in kafala in person, that kafala is gone. He dies, and the debtor dies. The court cannot tell him why didn't you bring him? You cannot stop him from dying. So in the kafala where you are required to bring the person himself, not the claim. If that person is dead, you are accelerated. But if the person if the person is not dead, you have to bring him. You have to bring him. So the creditor can terminate the contract of the kafala even if the principal debtor or the guarantor does not agree. The owner of the right can terminate the contract and say, I don't agree because this is his right. I said I will guarantee. He said, no, I don't want it. He can say no. And even after he agrees, he can say no. I mean, from now onwards, I don't agree. I just want to do it myself. I pressure him until he pays me the debt. Okay, next. Okay, we are done with the guarantor. The next contract is hawala. Okay, al-hawala. Al-hawala means to tahwil shay'in min makan ila makan akhar, and to move something from a place to another place, from locality to another. That's hawala. So it's a contract through which a debtor is released from the debt by another person who becomes responsible. Let's say as Norita, my example always. I borrowed 10 ringgit from her, and she borrowed 10 ringgit also from Yayasan. I borrowed 10 ringgit from her, and she borrowed also 10 ringgit from Yayasan. So I'm supposed to pay her 10 ringgit. She told me instead of paying me the 10 ringgit, because if you give, I'm going to give it to Yayasan, just pass my 10 ringgit to Yayasan. That's how. So she directed, me to somebody else. So she moved her right to somebody else, to be given to somebody else. Originally, this is what is known to be the hawala. So hawala is similar to the sale of debt. If you remember the sale of debt, we have around 5 types of it mentioned by the scholars. So it's almost similar to the sale of debt, but it is not the same contract. It's not the same. It's also a result of kafala and wakala. So it has some similarities with these transactions. In hawala, the debt is transferred from the principal debtor to a transferee. Transferred from the principal debtor to a transferee. So this is what I have said. When a valid hawala is conducted, the debt is no longer demanded from the principal debtor. Yeah, so if you observe it, that means you are going to, the right is gone. In the case where, in the example I have given, where as Norita asked me to pay to Yayasan Ta'lim, now she's not responsible. She's not responsible. Yayasan will not look for her. If they agree, then they have to look for me. So we will not. They will not ask her to pay. I shall be responsible to pay them. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are the principles. So the Prophet ﷺ, speaking about the evidence to support the hawala, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is good, where he says, "Matlul ghani dhulm." Matlul ghani dhulm. He says the procrastination of a rich debtor. Procrastination in paying the debt by a rich debtor is oppression. It's injustice. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if you are rich, you have the money, you should pay the debt. If you don't do that, this is oppression, this is good. The person will become a valim. It's prohibited what he is doing in Islam. He has the payment, and that person was very kind and good to him. He should return the kindness back to the one who showed him that kindness before. So the Prophet ﷺ said, وَإِذَا أُحِيلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَلَى مَلِئٍ فَلْيَقْبَلْ. And if one of you is transferred, to a principal, if one of you is transferred to a rich debtor, فَلْيَقْبَلْ. The rich person, فَلْيَقْبَلْ. He should accept. He should agree the process. So I borrow money from you, and you borrow money from somebody. You told that person to take his right from you. So you are transferring that person to me. So the Prophet ﷺ said he should accept. And that's the reason why they have the controversy. Acceptance, like in my previous example, is it obligatory upon Yayasan Ta'lim to accept to be transferred to me to settle the debt? Or they can tell we don't want. You have to pay us outright. We don't want to go to. Do they have a right to do so? The vast majority of the scholars said, yes, they do have a right. It is mustahab. And the minority, such as Hanabila, to my knowledge, they said, no, it is wajib. They have to be, because the Prophet ﷺ said, when one of you is transferred to a rich debtor, he should accept. And that's command from the Prophet ﷺ, on which necessity obligation. Yes. Okay, and this hawala, if you don't mind, just move forward again, or we'll come back to this. Again. Okay, go back to the first one. Sorry. Right. This hawala, nowadays, this hawala, with this in this context, does not take place that much, although it is still there, because when you do the transfer in the bank, you transfer the money to another person. The bank is the debtor. It's always a debtor, because when you save your money, you deposited your money with the bank is borrowing your money. The bank is borrowing your money. So when you ask the bank to transfer those digits, those monies that are in your account to somebody else, so it's like you are transferring somebody else, you owe money, unless if you are making it as a gift. If you are making it as a gift, but if you are paying for something, that means you owe that people money also. The bank owes you and you owe other people. So you're paying the loan, or you're paying the salary, or whatever. So the bank is the debt. So you are asking him to transfer the debt on his shoulder, to transfer the right that is on his shoulder to somebody. So it's like you are transferring your creditor to the bank, so that the bank will settle the claim on your shoulder. So it does exist also in this context. As I said, if there is a loan between you and that person, the idea. But in case of gift, then that will be the literal kind of hawala, not the technical type of hawala. But nowadays, the tahweel, the transfer, has so many shapes. You have a lot of types, like MoneyGram and Western Union, TransferWise. So many things. The bank transported, so many ways. The problem with this second way, which many people are not aware of, is that when you're going to transfer the money to another locality, the question is, what are you transferring? For instance, we live in Malaysia. Malaysian currency is is ringgit. I want to transfer ringgit to Saudi Arabia, for instance. I want to send something to Saudi. Usually, when I give the transfer, the person who is transferring the money, Western Union or the bank or whatever, when I ask them to transfer the money to another country, they are going to transfer what? The currency of that country. The currency of that. So I would tell them I have 30,000 ringgit, for instance, and I want them to reach Saudi Arabia. So they will be transferring 30,000 ringgit, but they will not give them ringgit, they will give them the equivalent in riyal. And the transfer is riyal. I transfer riyal. I give them 30,000 ringgit to send 28,000 riyal to Saudi. So when I demanded from the transferor, the one who is making the transfer, to transfer another currency to another country, this is where the problem lies. Okay, I hope it is clear. I want to send dollars to the US, but I give the transferor, transfer-wise, or I give the Western Union, MoneyGram or whatever they have. They have so many types. I give them ringgit, but I want them to send dollars to the US. I want them to send riyal to Saudi. I want them to send yuan to Japan. I want them to send a currency different from it. Is it permissible Islamically or it is not? First of all, if I'm to do it in ringgit, let's say I ask them to send ringgit. I want ringgit to reach Saudi Arabia, ringgit. The person to take ringgit there. Get it? If the money is going to reach Saudi Arabia in ringgit, not in dollars, ringgit will go to Saudi, and there will be no problem. There will be no problem. The money should go in ringgit. Like sometimes, people will send money. They will mention that the bank. I remember money came from the US. The bank called me and told me that you have this amount of dollars coming to you. They mentioned that what reached them is dollars. And then when they put it in your account, they convert it into ringgit, and then they put it in your account because you don't have a dollar account. So that's a new transaction. The first one is over, but now the new transaction of currency exchange between you and the bank is initiated. Like the situation whereby they put money in your account. You're from another country, they put money in your account. When you come to Malaysia, use your ATM card, and put it in the machine, and then you withdraw it. Although what is in the account is the currency of that country. So these are two different transactions. Number one is what was done by the people there, and that was okay because they just put it in the account directly. And number two, now when you're withdrawing in Malaysia, you're withdrawing in English. So now new transaction between you and the bank. And the machine is representing that. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're making it in the same currency, to reach Malaysia in ringgit, to reach Saudi Arabia in ringgit, this one, there shouldn't be any problem with that because there is no currency exchange in this. But the problem is if you are asking him to send dollars or riyal, and you're giving them ringgit. In this case, there is currency exchange taking place between you and the bank or the money changer or transfer. So in this case, all the principles and the rules of currency exchange are applicable. Who is observing this? And who knows it? Only a few people are remembering this. We just go and do, but we don't even think of this to be in existence. That is in Ishkal because this is riba. How is it riba? Because you gave them their right. You gave them the right. But did you receive your right? No, you did not. You did not receive your right. And they're going to give you a right sometimes after a few hours, sometimes after a few days also in your age. So that means the currency exchange have taken place between you and the bank, between you and the Western Union, between you and the money bar, between you and whatever you are doing, but there is no taqarrub. You give them the money, but you do not take your right. It has a delay. So what to do now? The best is to send out the same currency. Or when you go to the bank, they call it childish, but we don't care. Whatever they want to call you, they let them call. You know, you go to the bank, you want to send dollars, get the dollars from the bank first, and take the dollars with you. Company should take this, and then give the bank the dollars. Tell the bank, send these dollars to the US. Then the case is closed. You just have to do like that. What if there is no any other way? That's the only way to find. And these are matters of the Ura, these are matters where we don't have any option. If the alternative does not exist, there is no any other alternative except this. Whatever alternative you're getting is the same. The same. In this case, you have no option. But whenever a person has an option, you have to look for that option, which is correct. You have to go. But if you don't have an option, you don't have any option. That's the only way that left, and this is necessary, part of the necessity. You can't do without it, and then you can go with it, and there will be no problem, inshallah. So that's hawala in general. I hope, inshallah, is very clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one next to you is the bill of exchange. They call it Sub Seksyen. Sub Seksyen is very simple. It's actually a loan that is taken in Malaysia, and it is supposed to be paid in Singapore. Okay, you took the loan in Malaysia, but the agreement is that you're going to pay it in Singapore. So, so you give a letter, a statement to the person who lent you the money, and ask him when he goes to Singapore. You can go to your brother in Singapore, to your uncle in Singapore, your father in Singapore, whoever appointed. Go to him and show him the letter. They will give him his right. That letter is the what we call the Sub Seksyen. Nowadays we have different types of things like the LC. It's all part of it. Letter of credit that you have with the bank. When the bank is guaranteeing the transaction between you and the company. This one is, you have different types of it. Where the bank is giving you loan, and you give them the collateral, you have your property, they keep it as a rent. Okay? If the bank is not taking anything on top of that, the bank is not benefiting, then this is okay. If not, it will be a riba. You have the second type where the bank will not do this, but it will pay you all. It will pay the company all on your behalf. And then you go and pay the bank the same amount. If this is going to happen, then that will be okay, but which is impossible to happen. The bank has to charge. When they charge you, then this is the. You have another scenario where the bank is not paying from themselves. They pay from your money because you have money in the bank. The bank will not pay by themselves. They pay from your money. But since they acted as a guarantor, they charge you the payment for that. In the second case, you don't have money in the bank. The bank is lending you the money. But this one, you have your money in the bank, which is enough to buy the machines. So the bank is taking from your money to pay the company, and they have the responsibility of making sure that everything is done properly. They charge you something for this. So it's quite expensive. People don't usually go for this, but this is the only one that is correct. If you can execute this way. So this Sub Seksyen is slightly different from this, but those ones could be related to it. So Sub Seksyen means a loan that is taken from a locality and is going to be paid in another place. So what is it? Is there any benefit to this? Yes, there is. Carrying money is not good, especially in our time. It's very dangerous, very risky. Risk in many ways. I remember long ago in the University of Medina, one of our colleagues or seniors, very good person. SubhanAllah, he was given money by one of the rich people to distribute the money to the poor students of knowledge, those people who are in need. So the money is big. So he was supposed to use the land. He did not go by car. He used the aeroplane. Aeroplane has a restriction that the security is very high. He thought that is most secure. The road is very dangerous, very risky. So he used that one. When he uses the aeroplane, the detectors detected the money. And they brought the miskin, SubhanAllah. They brought it. But again, and SubhanAllah, looking at the new restriction that we're having in the world, that you cannot just have a transaction of money like this in charity. You have to go to the proper channels and all of these things that we do. It started long ago now. So the people who gave you the money, they say we don't know you. Nobody wants to be responsible. He was sent to jail because of this. So luckily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him. People with connection to here and there, they got him out. Complete his education and his study, but for sure he will never forget this moment. That's why being careful is always good. Anyway, so I'm just talking about the security wise. So it's very risky carrying the money also with you. Nowadays the limitation is how much is $10,000. Anything that is beyond that, you have to make a report, and people are not comfortable to make that report. You don't know who you report it to. I mean, in some countries, when even the officials, when they know you have money, you might get into trouble with the thieves of the way. They have connections with them. So you might be comfortable to. So basically, taking money is risky. Taking money with you, carrying money with you is very risky. That's a benefit. An additional benefit also, you avoid the payment of the taxes and the fees. If you want to transfer the money, you have to go through the taxes, you have to go through so many things. And you don't forget the exchange rate also. But if I borrow you money, you need the money in Malaysia to do your business. I give you that. You're going to give me in another country. All of these, risk, we avoid them. We stay away from them. Good idea. So these are benefits in which the majority of the scholars are looking at, and as such, they declare this transaction to be valid. Next. So, Suftaja, according to the vast majority of the scholars, is haram. According to the vast majority of the scholars, it's haram. Majority of the scholars say it's haram. But you have the Hanabila who says it's okay. Why is it a problem? Majority of the scholars said he benefited, he benefited. He skipped the current exchange, the exchange, and he skipped also the risk. These are benefits. And the Qaeda says any benefit you generated because of the loan you gave somebody, that loan is riba. This benefit, who is benefited? Both of them are benefited. And in riba, only one side is benefited. The other one is exploited, and his blood is sucked by the other. And this one, both of them are benefited. And it is not something that is intended. Usually, it's just for the sake of benefit. I give you the money, and I told you I don't need this money. Since you're going to Singapore, I take it from Singapore. That's it. So this is the benefit that is generated, which is not intended. And in loan contract, these type of benefits are tolerated. Next. So Suftaja, inshallah, is permissible in like ta'ala. You can borrow money from a place and you can pay it in another place. When you pay with the same amount of, with the same currency. If you are going to pay with different types of currencies, then in this case, you must make sure that you observe two conditions. Number one, you use the current exchange rate. And number two, you must make sure that you settle everything before you are separated. Just like the first type of the sale of debt, you remember that. Yeah, if you are going to pay in another currency, then you must make sure that you use the current exchange rate, the one that the day you are paying the debt, and also you are not separated before you settle everything. So if the conversion is $20,000, you have to pay the whole $20,000 before the separation. Okay, so what concerns mu'awada, there are so many other things. If we say that we have to talk about every single type of a transaction, and mu'awada, Yayasan has to open, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years if you're going to go to everything to go through all of these details. But I guess, inshallah, in that which we have discussed enough to be acting as a principle for you to know what to do whenever you're buying or you're selling or you are trying to become a partner with somebody in that investment, either like that. Okay, so what will come after this? These are a kind of a transaction in which there is no more hour, a kind of one-sided transaction. Somebody is transferring his ownership to another person free of charge. In the previous ones, there is an exchange. I give you something, you replace it with something else. I give you something, you give me something else. But in this one, there is no such thing like this. So this is the ifrad. If you remember when I talked about the principle of economy, where the Prophet ﷺ said, you will be questioned on your judgment about three things or four things. One of them is your wealth. Where did you get it? How did you get it? And how did you spend it? How did you get it? And how did you spend it? So we talk about the way to get it. These are the production and distribution. So now the other part of the distribution, which is the spending, how did you spend it? How did you spend it? So now we assume that you bought it, you have conducted the exchange, you got it through your effort, and how are you supposed to spend it? These are some of the example of the means of spending in the Islamic system. So you have the infaq on the family, zakah, you have waqf, you have riba, you have wasila, you have inheritance. You might have some other things that the scholars have discussed, but I think these are the most connected matters to us. Okay, go next. The first one is a gift. Okay, infaq to the family. This is one of the noblest acts of worship that you do to please Allah subhanahu when it comes to charity. Many people think that giving charity to the family is less important than giving charity to a stranger. But this is absolutely wrong. This is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because if you give a charity to a family member, this is counted for you as a charity and also certified. So you get it to me. But if you give it to a stranger, this is just charity. So in fact, is an obligatory giving. So obligatory giving that you're giving to a family member. So it is obligatory for you to feed your wife and also the children, the person. Any one of them who did not reach the age of maturity, you are responsible to make sure that you provide his daily expenses. Okay. So one of these means of giving, transferring the ownership to others, is gift. It's a gift, and a gift is known to anyone, all of us. I don't want to dwell on it. We already know what gift is all about. So it's a contract by which The person transfers his property with immediate effect without any consideration to another person. So the words or the point to be noted here is the transfer of ownership and also immediate effect and no consideration. No consideration means you're not asking him to pay something. Next slide. If you ask him to pay something, then this is not a gift. This is a business. I might say, yes, this is a gift for you, but you have to pay. This is not a gift in reality. My word is saying gift, but in reality is not a gift. The Prophet ﷺ said, Tahabu. The Prophet ﷺ said, Tahadu. He asked us to exchange gifts among us because that will bring love, in our heart. The Prophet Aisha radiallahu anha said the Prophet used to accept hadiyah, and he used to reward people for giving him that. People used to give him things and he used to accept. That's a very interesting hadith, which my time will not permit me to quote it, but very interesting about the life of the people in the house of Rasulullah. Bukhari quoted this in the book of gift. He has a chapter in his Sahih called the book of gift. Next slide. So it is halal to me, and it brings a good relationship amongst the people. Okay? What is the difference between hiba and hadiyah? They have two different words here. Are they the same? Yes, they are the same. They are the same. Now, some said hiba is, but this is wrong. Some said hiba is when you give somebody something without any motive and without any respect. But that's absolutely wrong. Yeah, how are you going to take your property and give it to somebody that you hate? How? That's absolutely wrong. You give somebody something and then he asks you, why is this? You tell him because, what is this? You tell him this is hiba. He asks you, why is that? He said, because I hate you. Because I don't like you. It doesn't go. So there's no difference between hiba and hiba. But some mentioned some differences, which I found interesting. They said hadiyah, is usually known as what the giver uses to seek the closeness of the receiver. Hadiyah, when I give you something as hadiyah, usually sometimes I want to strengthen my relationship with you. I want to bring myself closer to you. Then I give the hadiyah. Hiba doesn't need that. It just you are giving just to benefit the receiver. You give him to benefit him. That's why you don't attribute hadiyah to Allah. Allah doesn't look for closeness to anyone. You come to him. You come closer to him. But Allah doesn't need to do that. Allah doesn't give something in order to bring himself closer to others. Right? So hadiyah, you cannot use hadiyah with Allah. You can use hiba. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. In the case of Zakaria says, فَهَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ وَلِيًّا. He's asking Allah to grant him waliya. A person who will inherit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَهَبُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا وَيَهَبُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ الذُّكُورَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may gift to whomsoever he wishes. Give them inath. Inath means female daughters. Some of us, they don't have boys, they have girls. All of their children are girls. And some of us, they have all boys. And some of us, they have mixed of both. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and he makes whomsoever he wishes. Aqim means a barren, somebody who cannot produce a child. So we cannot use hadiyah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can use it. Okay? Next. But in reality, both of them they mean the same thing. They mean the same thing. What is that? Is you're giving something without consideration, without consideration, which takes immediate effects. You're transferring the ownership of your property to somebody, which takes immediate effect. without asking him to pay. Okay, next. Hiba bil iwad. Okay, this one is good. Although nowadays I don't see the application of this except in the villages. In the villages, yes, they still have things like this. But life is still conservative, whereby a person will give something, but he is waiting for a reward for that. We call it hiba bil iwad. So usually it comes from the poor to the rich. If you take from the crew, this person is really poor and he's making a gift, he takes some of his produce and then he gives it to the rich person. What is he looking for? Money. So the rich person has to pay. He has to pay according to the best opinion. In case there is a clash between them, the court will force him to pay or to return back the goods. Because when he lives in that place, he should know the culture. He knows. He might be testing the poor person, but he knows. But why did they do that? Wallahu alam, because Wallahu alam, but they're doing this because if you are to go to the rich person as a poor person, you bring the produce, which is dirty, not even washed, you tell him to buy this, he might not buy. Because they like to go to the heavy malls, the cutest one, and enjoy the visit to that place, and then go to the Pasar Malam or the farm to buy. So when you bring it to him and you ask him to buy, he might not buy. Might. But when you tell him gift, usually culturally people accept it. So he knows what he wanted. So this hiba used to exist a lot. Nowadays we don't see it in the city. They said Layth bin Sa'd, the friend of Imam Malik, Imam Layth. Very great scholars. Even Imam Shafi says, Layth afqahu min Malik illa an ashabahu dayyan. He says Layth ibn Sa'd is more knowledgeable than Imam Malik, but the problem is his students neglected. They did not promote his opinion in the way the student of Imam Malik promoted his opinion. Layth ibn Sa'd was extremely rich, but he said zakat never became obligatory. Very rich. So always distributing his money. Always distributing. The businessman, the business comes in, the income they just distribute. Yeah. So he visited Medina one day, and Imam Malik, knowing that his friend came, he sent him a container of tamar as a gift. So that's a very nice gift. If you are the one who wish that you send 10 traders, So he sent him a container of tamar. So what did Layth bin Sa'd do? He removed the tamar from the container and he filled the container with gold and he sent it back to Imam Malik. So he sent it back to Imam Malik. So Imam Malik was not doing it as somebody who's looking for reward. Wasn't doing it for that. But that's almost looked like hiba bil iwad. Wasn't doing it for that. Hiba bil iwad is when you intentionally, did it looking for the compensation. So as I said, this is another form of transaction, which we frame it in hiba transaction, but it is not hiba. In reality, it is just a business contract. Yes, next. Bankruptcy and hiba. Bankruptcy. Who is a bankrupt person? I guess we talked about this in the past. A bankruptcy is somebody who is declared by the court to be bankrupt. Okay? Not just somebody whose liability is more than his gain. The declaration of the court must be there. When a person is bankrupt, his hiba, all of his transactions are invalid. His hiba, his work, his charity, his business, his saying, his buying, they are all invalid except with the permission of the court. Next. Okay, this is just a point of reflection. The Prophet ﷺ in his teaching, it doesn't teach people just the dunya. We try to connect it with the akhirah, so that people will not be materialistic. So he told them, who is the bankrupt person among you? They said, the bankrupt is somebody whose liability is more than his gain. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, the real bankrupt person is the person who will come back to Allah on the day of judgment and with huge amount of rewards. But then unfortunately, he cursed this, he abused this, he backbited this. You know, he did so many things. You know. He backbited this, he slandered this, you know. So he did so many wrong things against others. So on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take from his reward and give it. His reward and give it to this person, and give it to this person. Until the time his reward finished. And people are still looking for their right to be extracted from him, but he doesn't have any payment to pay them. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take from their sins and put on him that he will take. The Prophet said, this is the real bankrupt person. Allah is the real bankruptcy. We're looking for real bankruptcy. And as such, I really advise all of us to stay away from harming others. No backbiting, no jealousy, no slandering, no anything that is wrong against others. Because on the day of judgment, their rights are going to be extracted from you. And if you say something bad against another person, you know, do you have any clue how many rewards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give on the day of judgment to pay them their rights? You don't know. Maybe your act of worship for 10 years, 20 years might be taken completely to pay him his right for that one word you said. Aisha said one word, you know. The Prophet ﷺ said, you have said a word which in which if it is to be mixed with the water of the ocean, it would destroy it completely. The water of the sea, it would destroy it completely. So let's be careful whenever we open our mouth to talk about others, we should say good or good people. Next. Okay, next. This one I've already discussed. Give to the hands. I always make jokes in this regard when I have face-to-face class, but this online class is the most boring class. But anyway, what to do? Inshallah, soon we will go out of this problem. Is it permissible to make gifts to the kids? Yes, it is. It brings a good relationship between the parents and the children. It is permissible to make the gift, but justice have to be observed. Numan bin Bashir said, my father decided to make gift for me. But then he consulted his mother, the mother of Numan, has been the wife of Al-Bashir. So he told her, I want to give the house to my son. The wife said, no problem, but you have to go and let Rasulullah know about this and let him be the witness in case in the future something will happen. So he went to the Prophet and told him, Rasulullah, I'm going to make a gift for my child, but I want you to be the witness. The Prophet said, did you give all of your children the same? He said, no, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet said, go and look for somebody to witness this moment, because I don't witness people. I don't witness injustice. I do not witness injustice. Rasulullah called it injustice. So he told the Prophet, he told Bashir, to go and look for somebody to witness. Does that mean the Prophet is advising him to look for somebody, or the Prophet is just using that strong way to reject that attitude? The second one, it is not permissible for anyone to witness an injustice. So Rasulullah called it injustice. Next slide. What is justice when we are giving the kids? Next slide. So what is justice? You have two different opinions. Some scholars said you have to follow the law of inheritance. You have to follow the law of inheritance. Some of the scholars said no. Justice means you have to give them the same. So you have a daughter, you have a son. You give her 1 ringgit, you have to give him 1 ringgit. If you follow the other opinion that says you have to follow the law of inheritance, in this case, you give him 1 ringgit, you have to give her 50 cents. You give her 2 ringgit, you give him 4 ringgit. According to the law of inheritance, there is no clear evidence to support either one. And that's why the best is to follow their needs. If there is no need from any one of them, to give them an equal amount. But if one of them needs, then you can favor him over the others. That is, if there is no need and all of them are equal in terms of their need, then you give them equal amount. Give the girl 1, you give the boy 1. Give the girl 2, you give the boy 2, like that. But if one of them is in need, you give each and every one of them according to their needs. For instance, the girl studies next to you, and the boy studies in Bahan, in Johor, in any other state in Malaysia. It's far from you. You cannot give him 100 ringgit and give her. You cannot give her 100 ringgit and give him 100 ringgit. At the same time, you give him 1,000. You give her 100 ringgit because she's at home. Whenever she needs, she can back and take it. He can test out. He needs more than hers. So you give him more money, and that will be justice. That will be just. But now the question is, in the case of the examination, next slide. Next slide. This one we read about inshallah. Okay, in the case of sometimes at home, when the kids comes back from the school, after the exams, we give them a gift. We favor what you call those one who excel in the examination, and the rest we don't give them. Is it a good approach? This is just a side benefit. The scholar said it is not. It is not at all. It is not. It's a kind of demotivation. And that person, the one who did not get good marks, he's going to be familiar with this. He's going to be familiar with this. So when you decided to make a gift, give the gifts to all of them. When you wanted to make any celebration, celebrate and let all of them come. And that person, tell him some good words, words of motivation that will motivate him to work hard in the future. Okay. Justice is obligatory. Okay, being justice among the kids is obligatory. I choose the opinion that says it's obligatory because the Prophet ﷺ said, "I don't witness injustice." So that's been justice is wajib. In this case, justice is wajib. You must equate. Between the children, you cannot give some more than the thing you give the other ones. Okay, next. Okay, this one I will talk about. I talk about this already. Okay. Giving favoritism of the kids with justification. Okay, there's a hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha. Abu Bakr radiallahu anha made a gift for her. But unfortunately, she did not take the gift. كان نحلها جاد 20 وسقا من مائه في الغابة. فلما حضرت الوفاة, so he gave her that gift, amount of food, seed to be taken from the farm. So she did not take it. When death approached her, قال والله يا بني ما من الناس أحد أحب إلي غنى بعدني. He says there is nobody that I want to see him being rich, after me, amongst the human beings, more than you. I really love you so much, and I want to see you being satisfied. She's the closest daughter to him. She has to be like that, because she is the most beloved wife to the Prophet ﷺ. So Abu Bakr told her, I really want you to get the satisfactory kind of living. He says, وَلَا عَزُّ عَلَيَّ فَقَرَتْ بَعْدِ. You know, if there is anyone that I want, I don't want to think of him being in a state of need after me, is you. وَإِنِّي كُنْتُ نَحَلْتُكِ. He told her that I gave you جَدْ عِشْرِينَ وُسْقًا فَلَوْ كُنْتِ جَلِدْتِيهِ وَاحْتَرَسْتِيهِ كَانَ لَكِ. He said, I gave you that, but you never went to the farm and took it. Had you do that, then it is yours. But unfortunately, you did not do it. قال وإنما هو اليوم مال وارث وإنما هما أخواك وأختك. So he told her, today, this wealth is the wealth of the heirs. You know, it becomes part of the inheritance. He was about to die. He said, no, we cannot take it because at this last minute transaction involved. So this transaction, this money is going to be distributed between you and your two brothers and two sisters. Two brothers and two sisters. Abdurrahman and Muhammad. And two sisters, Asma. So Aisha said, قال فاقتسموه على كتاب الله. So you should distribute it according to the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distributed. Aisha said, فقلت يا أبت والله لو كان كذا وكذا لتركته وإنما هي أسماء. So she said, if it is like this and that, I will just leave it. إنما هي أسماء. He said, Dad, I only know that I have one sister, Asma. Well, who is the other sister? فقال ذو باطن خارج أراها جارية. You can see this karama. You can say karama given to Abu Bakr. But they don't have ultrasound in those days. So he told her the pregnancy of Kharija, his wife. He said that she is pregnant, and I think she's going to deliver a daughter. So he even confirmed, put it in here. I don't want to call it yaqeen, but he has the feeling that the one that will come is a daughter. And this is what happened. So we call it karama of that. So if a person is given a gift, if he doesn't take it amongst the children, if he doesn't take it until the last minute, that gift has to be distributed for the rest of the heirs. All of them. He and the rest of the heirs will be called. Next slide. Okay, this one I've already done. Revocation of gift. Can I make a gift and revoke it back and take it? According to the best opinion, it is haram. The Prophet said the example of, we don't have an able example. And the example of somebody who makes a gift and then take it back, it's just like a dog that vomited and ate back his vomit. And as such, if you make a gift and somebody, the person that you're giving the gift to, he possessed the gift, you are not allowed to take it back. If you possess it after the possession, then you don't take it back. That's the best opinion. Although most of the scholars said it is makruh, not haram. But the hadith is very clear. It's impermissible for somebody to take back the gift after it is transferred and that person had the possession. So you should think wisely before you make that gift. And it is inappropriate, actually. The kareem, the one who is kareem, doesn't do that. Next. An exception that is made to this general ruling is the father or the mother. Both of them can take back the gift they made for their child. Okay? The Prophet said, none should take back his gift except the father taking back the gifts that we make for the son. Walid, the walid is applicable on both father and mother. So the mother can take it back, also the father can take it back. It's not good to do it, but if they do it, that will be okay. Because the son and the wealth, the Prophet said, belongs to the parent, not as a slave, but it means the father to have a right to own that which the son has. Next. Next slide. Okay, so we're done with the gift. The gift, I guess, that is related to the bands, I guess that one I will be discussing. There's no gift. This is just a riba in the sense of it. The waqf. Waqf is a permanent dedication of a corpus. And I guess everyone knows waqf, right? There is no need to define this. Dedication of the corpus of the valuable property by a Muslim to the ownership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for religious and charitable and pious purposes. Okay, that's the one. So it means you have something which you want to give to charity. You don't give it to the person to consume it. There's a house, for instance, a car, anything that could last so long. You give a land, you give a school, and so on. So you give the ownership to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the benefit is to be given to the beneficiaries, whoever you assign to be benefited from that work. So work Islamically cannot be sold, cannot be inherited, cannot be gifted. It has to remain forever like that. Next. It has a lot of significance. It earns a Muslim continuous reward provide social security and welfare in the community. So it's very, very important, very, very important. We have many people in the community who are selling their honor and dignity because they don't have something to eat. For example, given to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our life, we have also other examples to be used to support this fact that what can do a lot for us to protect those people who have no any other place to resort to. What can do that? But unfortunately, it is too slow. You can see in any book of fiqh, usually work is not that much. It's a very simple concept, but now we make it so complicated, and this management is there almost everything. So you can see that benefit. Why do you go and see the benefit of the work? Let's see that. And also, it is a very good system, to be used to protect entities, universities, schools, orphanages. Al-Azhar, they mentioned that it has a lot of awqaf. In Saudi Arabia, you have the Haramain, they have a lot of awqaf. That's a very good system. You build a masjid, make some work for it. Build a shop, and then rent that shop. And the money should come to the benefit of the masjid. So from that money, you pay the imam, you pay the cleaners, you pay the expenses of the masjid, the bills and all of these. Rather than going begging people, putting the boxes in the masjid. And sometimes on Friday, you see the boxes going, the khatib is making the khutbah, and people are just moving the boxes. It's a big distraction. It's a big distraction. So if a person is smart enough, when you build the masjid, you make something for it. That's the best. So that we can generate money, for the benefit of that masjid. For the benefit of that masjid. Next. We have a lot to say in this regard, but unfortunately time will not. So there's a hadith of Umar radiallahu anhu. He told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he got land in Khaybar. He said, this is the best thing for me amongst my wealth. It is one of the best wealth I have. Rasulullah, what would you advise me to do with it? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Habbis aslaha wa sabbil thamar. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, detain the corpus, give it in charity by making it waqf. He did not say waqf, but he says Habbis aslaha. Detain the coffers, and then the fruit should be given to the needy in charity. And then he talks about those people who are supposed to be benefiting from it. I mean, his proposal, who to benefit with the work. And he talks about another work, the mutawalli, the one who takes out the work. He does have a right also to benefit from it. If it's a house, he can stay in it. If there's fruits, he can eat also from it. Next. Another hadith to support the legality of work is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمَ انْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ. When the son of Adam dies, all of his righteous deeds, all of his deeds will be not except one of them. I mean, except these three. Sadaqatul Jariyah, continuous charity. This is work of this. Ilmun yuntafa'u bihi, or knowledge that people are benefiting from it. أو ولد صالح يدعو, or he left a righteous child who is making dua for him constantly. Yes. So we can see from this hadith the Prophet ﷺ mentioned a continuous charity, which is these are the conditions of the waqf. Three main conditions: the founder has to be Muslim, and he must own the property, and he must have a legal capacity. He must be of a legal capacity. Somebody who is not a minor, somebody who is not insane, somebody who is not bankrupt, somebody who is not prodigal. It must be okay for the waqf to be accepted. He should not intend to deprive the creditors from their rights. But sometimes a person might make it waqf, with the intention of depriving his creditors their rights. In this case, the court has the right to revoke that waqf, take it back to his ownership and pay the people their rights. Next. So conditions of the property. It has to be something that is valuable in the eyes of Allah. You cannot make waqf of something that has no value in the eyes of Allah. Haram things. It must be ayn. Ayn means a thing. Ayn means a thing or asset, not a user part. Waqf of the benefit. This one's controversial. Can I make a waqf of the user part? The house belongs to me, but the benefit of that house, just the state, can I make it waqf for a certain period of time? And some said yes, some said no. That is. The point is, if you give somebody the right to benefit from your house, you'll be rewarded. Whether we agree with it to be called waqf or not to be called waqf, it doesn't matter. The point is, if you do it, you're doing a noble act, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The thing you are making as waqf must be in existence. And how about the cash waqf? The cash waqf, if you do it correctly, and how is it done? People contributed. It's like the crowdfunding now this year. We want to raise a fund. People will make it as well. Give their money. So that money is supposed to be converted into something which remains. The idea is supposed to be converted into something that remains. As for the cash waqf, whereby people will give the waqf and then we put it in one place and then we lend it to people, and people will pay with interest. He borrowed the money, and then he goes and do the business, whatever he does, and then later on he pays more than that. This is riba. This is riba. Okay? That's very careful. And the mutawalli, there has to be somebody who should take care of the work, otherwise it will be mismanaged and might be taken back. Next. The beneficiaries. The beneficiaries, who are they? They can be specific or anyone. But if you make it a specific beneficiary, like this person, and you tell them this is work for you, acceptance of this person is needed. If he doesn't accept it, then the work doesn't exist because he doesn't accept it. Relatives also could be the beneficiaries. Dhimmis also could be the beneficiaries. Relatives could be the beneficiaries as well as dhimmis. It must be given for halal purposes. If a person is making it for something that is for the sake of something which is haram, then It is not permissible. Like giving it to churches or synagogues, or for the animals. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of money. But you can make it the work for the animals for the jihad. Let's say the horses. Okay. So you can make your house or a place work for the horses of the Mujahid. Next. Types of work. Okay, this is not that much important. Yeah, public work where you make it for the benefit of everyone. Bridges, massages, cemeteries. And you have the quasi or quasi public work. Is not public, is not what you call specific. It's not private. So this is the work that you make for a specific type of people. A group of people, you don't address one entity, but the group is there. Like doctors, like religious people, student of economics, student of law, medical students, students who are studying medicine. So this is the second type of work. The last one is the work of Durdi or Ahli. This is the one that you give it to what do you call? You give it to your family members. There are some other dimensions the scholars divide the work. So I said this is not that much important. The most important thing is to know the concept and how is it. What is work? What are the conditions of the work? So you can make it for the family members. And this is very important type of work. They mentioned that one of the companions said, this house of mine is worked for any daughter amongst my daughters who is divorced after me, who lost her husband. So this house is for her to stay until the time she finds somebody else to go with. That's very good. Instead of she getting stranded, after she is divorced and she has to go and live with the family, she has to go and live with her brothers. Sometimes all of these things are happening from time to time. So if you as a rich person, somebody who has the capability to make this type of work, it will really be you are helping your family members, your children not to be in trouble after leaving this life. Okay, next. Okay, the mutawalli. The mutawalli is a trustee. Is the person who administers the work, manages the work. So he's responsible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the founder, and to the beneficiaries. His responsibility is very high. It's very, very big. So who appoints him? The work itself, the one who makes the work, the founder or the court. You can have one or more. All of these are not that much important. The point is to have a mutawalli, somebody who is trusted, and his job is to act as a trustee, to take care of the property, to make sure that it is not utilized in the wrong way. Okay, next. He doesn't have a right to do anything, to borrow money to fix it, or to transfer his duty to somebody else without permission of the court, to rent it, to lease it. He doesn't have a right to do it. To borrow money to spend on the work or the beneficiary of the work, he doesn't have a right to do this. He has to contact the court first or the Ministry of Health to give him permission. If he is found to be doing any one of these, then the court or the ministry will have a right to fire him and bring somebody else. Next. Maintenance of the work property. The mutawalli can suggest, he's not allowed to do it, to borrow money to do it, but he can suggest ways to maintain it properly. He can give a better suggestion, reject a suggestion by the founder and to modify it. He can participate in the debate in order to, finalize the discussion on how to fix and to maintain the law. So, as I said, he cannot do anything other than that. So his responsibility is the responsibility of the trustee. Okay, next. Ibdalul Waqf. You have the property which is mawquf. Can we change it to another thing that is better? Islamically, we are not supposed to do that. Islamically, according to the best opinion, we are not supposed to do that. But if the benefit of this work is gone, can we sell it and buy something else? Yes, we can do that. According to the best opinion, we can do that. So when the benefits are gone, it is not beneficial anymore, we can change it to something that is beneficial. Okay, to keep it going. That's the best opinion. When we see bigger benefits, the government can change the location of the waqf to another thing. Like what they said, that Umar radiallahu anhu moved a waqf, a masjid, to another community. And he built markets for the people in that place, because most likely people are not going to that place for the prayer. So instead of neglecting the masjid, there is another place where the masjid is more beneficial to the people. So he built the masjid there, and he built market in that place. That's good. What do you call politics? Next. Okay, next. Next. Okay, those two things, musharaka, mutanafisa, and istisna, these are all ways to maintain the waqf. Also, we can use one of them to establish the waqf itself. Let's say you have a company who wants to establish a waqf, and the cooperation between the Ministry of Awqaf and the company. The company pays 90% of the construction. The ministry pays only 10%. They go for the musharaka mutanafisa, for instance, and this is the hotel or any other place where we can generate income. So he will be, since this is a joint business, they are not doing it for us. It's a business, so they can generate the revenue and share according to their ownership. This one 10% of the profit, and the other one 90% of the profit. Until the time the bank, the company, they got their money back, and they get some profit, and then they withdraw. They sell their shares to the waqf ministry, so that the entity or that building will become owned by the ministry completely. This one is okay, like Allah is done correctly and properly managed. The next transaction is al-wasiyah. Al-wasiyah is a will. The Prophet ﷺ said, as a will. That means the gift you are making, for the benefit of somebody, which is to be executed after you die, is very important. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Prophet ﷺ said, He extracted from our wealth 1/3 of it to be made as charity before we die, as an increase for our righteous deed. Next. And Abdullah ibn Umar said, it is not appropriate for a Muslim to sleep for 2 nights if he has something to make as wasiyah without making that wasiyah and writing it, next to it. If you have something to make as wasiyah, you have to write it down. It is inappropriate to stay for 2 nights without having a wasiyah being written. And the earliest wasiyah we know, wallahu a'lam, knows best, is the wasiyah of Nuh alayhi salam. So this one, time will not permit. It's a very great and interesting narration by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it has so many lessons that we can benefit from it. But unfortunately, we don't have time to go through it. So inshallah, once the slide comes to you, refer to it. Maybe like that, I will find a time to have a day to come and give a class, inshallah, on the hadith. Next. But the earliest wasiyah, wallahu alam, it might be the wasiyah of Nuh alayhi salam, to his children. And what was the wasiyah of Nuh alayhi salam? The prophets of Allah, they don't give wasiyah with money. Wasiyah of money, wasiyah of this. Their wasiyah is all about the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nuh alayhi salam told his 2 children, he says, or his child, he says, I command you to say La ilaha illallah and subhanallah. And he said, I ask you to stay away from shirk and arrogance. All things. Which if you stay, you stay away from the negative one and do the positive one, you succeed in this life. Next. Okay, that's the definition of wasiyah. Wasiyah, I've already defined it. It's a will, okay, that which you give. So this is a literal meaning. Next. Next. I've already done this. Next. Okay. Conditions of the wasiyah. One of the evidences that supports the wasiyah are those hadiths that I mentioned, and also the hadith of Sa'd, the hadith of Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. You know, in Mecca when he was sick, the Prophet ﷺ visited him, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, you know, I'm very rich. I'm very rich." He said, "I'm very rich, you know, and unfortunately, I'm sick, and there is nobody to inherit me except one daughter. Can I give 2/3 of my wealth in charity?" Rasulullah ﷺ said, "No." He said, "How about half of it?" He said, "No." How about 1/3? The Prophet said 1/3, but even 1/3 is a lot. And then the Prophet told him that it is always better for you to leave your descendants, you know, as a rich, you know, family than leaving them for, at the end of the day, they go and beg others. So that's shows that wasiyah is limited to 1/3 of the wealth. Let's move to the conditions. And you can see in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told him, he said, it is always better for you to leave your family as a rich family. It's a very good lesson for us, because many people before death, they will try to disperse their money to others, thinking that this is where the reward is more valuable when they give it to other people. Next. Okay, so that was the wasiyah. Well, the conditions for the wasiyah, I thought I have them in the slides. The conditions of the wasiyah, it shouldn't exceed 1/3 of the estate. It is haram to go beyond 1/3 of the estate. You can only give 1/3. If a person goes beyond his limitation and give more than 1/3, then we have to ask the heirs first, the family. If they agree with the wasiyah to be executed, alhamdulillah. If they don't agree, then we cut the amount to only the 1/3 of the estate. This is what he has a right for. The hadith of Sa'd, and also the first hadith we have mentioned. And it also cannot be given to an heir. Wasiyah cannot be made for the benefit of an heir. Anyone who inherits, who has a portion of inheritance, you cannot make wasiyah for him. So it has to be made for somebody who might be among your family members, but he doesn't inherit you. He does not inherit you. If a wasiyah is made to, for the benefit of an heir, this is haram, the person gets sin. But can we execute it? Some scholars said no. Some scholars said it depends on the permission of the rest of the heirs. If they agree, we do it. If they don't agree, then we have to take the money back to the estate. I mean, to the rest of the family. It has to be distributed for everyone. So this is the wasiyah and its conditions. The Prophet said, "Inna Allah qad a'ta kulla bi haqqin haqqahu, fala wasiyata li wahid." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given everyone who has a right, Allah has given him his right, and as such, there is no wasiyah to be made, or wasiyah is invalid when it is made for the benefit of the heir. As I said, this is applicable on those people who have portion from the estate. So the next topics are zakat and inheritance. Inheritance is a very long topic, interesting topic, and very long, and a topic that is connected to human life until the day of judgment. And the last topic will be the zakat. I guess we have the taxes also, taxation, but there is no time to discuss it. Inshallah, I guess one day, either through Yayasan or somebody, we shall come and have a lecture on zakat. Inheritance, this one, this is the study of, life. It takes a long time. I taught it in UI for some special group of students. It takes from us, I think, around 1 or 2 years to finish it. It's a long topic, and we did not discuss every single thing. We try to summarize as much as we can. So this one will take long. So I was hoping that I can shed light on the most important part of it, but it will be rushed. So keep this, inshallah, maybe 2 lectures in the future. Not now, but if Allah subhanahu wa wish in the future, inshallah. One should be done on zakat. This one is a must because people need to know the correct approach when it comes to the zakat. They need to know the correct approach when it comes to the zakat. So inshallah, I will try to see how to convince to establish one. If the schedule is very tight, I will try to arrange inshallah to have the zakat. So I guess that will be the best place to stop. I hope, inshallah, you get something. We have been dealing with this for almost 10 minutes. I guess, inshallah, you get something from it. Whatever question you need to ask about, you need to ask about this, do let me know. That's there, inshallah. Do let me know, even if Allah actually find time to discuss it, inshallah. So now let's move to the question and answer session. If you have any question, if not, then we close the class.
Assalamu alaikum. So there are a few questions. The first one is from Uzair Farouqi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, what of the case where I borrow money from someone in Malaysia and my relative in Pakistan transfers the same amount to his family in Pakistan? Is this permissible and does it fall under suftaja? Barakallahu fikum.
Yeah, it is a part of it. Yeah, you take money from somebody here and he pays, and you pay your relative pays him immediately there. That's no problem. If it is loan, you don't need to pay it immediately. You can pay it at any time you want to pay. Your family can pay that. But if they are paying in the currency of Pakistan, then they have to make sure that they use the current exchange rate and they don't get separated until they settle everything. These are the two conditions you must be observed. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. From the next one is from Khidir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, I use a certain Islamic bank in Malaysia and I noticed there was an incoming transaction from the bank labeled Hibah. Can I use this money?
You have to get rid of it. So this is riba. They borrow your money and they are paying you extra. So this is riba. So what you do is to get rid of it.
Assalamu alaikum. The next one is from Siti Munira Yasin. Sheikh, somebody was asking me, the person repents from taking bank loans for house and wants to complete the loan as fast as possible. How can I advise the person? Is it okay if he takes a personal loan to complete it as fast as possible with lesser riba, let's say 5 years only, or just finish the old loan but riba is more than another 20 years of loan?
Yeah, they can convert it. If there is somebody who can give them loan to set it, to cut off that one which is increasing, that will be compounding, and that will be connected to the riba throughout their life, until the time they pay. If they can take halal loan and set it that one to close that page, that will be the best, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. The next one is from Nur Laila. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Ibrahim. In Malaysia, I understand there's a lot of lands being walked to the state Islamic Authority. These lands are left abandoned and not managed properly. Is it still advisable for us to walk off land, or better to sell the land, give the money to the appropriate party who needs it?
Yeah, if
Jazakallah
you
khair.
know that it is not, what do you call, if you know that it is not utilized properly, then in this case, you don't, uh, you don't make it work. It's better to sell it and give the money to any organization or any person to benefit from it. If you know that it is not going to be maintained properly, it will be a waste of money. It will be a waste of money for you to make it work. So you shouldn't. This is a very good question, actually. Whenever you realize that something is not done properly, you shouldn't go for it because you're just wasting your wealth and you don't get that reward. So it's better for you to sell the thing and then take the money and do something else with it. Give it benefit to your family. Give it to your family to benefit from it. Or give it in charity, the one that other people will be benefiting from it. But sometimes it looks like fashion. Some people are doing it. I also have to have one. But think about the benefit. What does it bring to the community? Who's benefiting from it? You make it as a work, yes. Now it is written as a work. But what is the benefit? Nobody's benefiting from it. So how does it count for you? How do you get the reward?
Assalamu alaikum. The next one is from Siti Munira Yasin. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Among the good spending that Sheikh is teaching, all are good. How can we advise a family who is stingy in spending from charity to society, but always saves money, house, assets for their own children or and family, so that it can be inherited when they die, since inheritance is also good spending?
So the question is, how can we?
The question is, how can we advise a family who is stingy in spending from charity to society, but always saves money, house, asset for their own children and family?
They should be moderate. They shouldn't just focus on saving only for the family. They should take some and share with the community. That's always very important. The vast majority should be for the benefit of the family, and some part of it should go to the community. This is very important. This is what was done by the Salaf Salih. They don't just save for the family. The best gift you make for your children and for your family member is the tarbiyah you're giving them. That's the most important thing. The tarbiyah you're giving them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Assalamu alaikum. So there are no more questions left in the chat box, Doctor.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, if there is no question, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you good and success in life. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you happy in this dunya and akhirah, and to grant us ability, the courage, and the strong heart, to be doing that which pleases Him in this life. And I really advise all of us to be patient. Be patient in this life, and don't you ever do something except that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you to do. You're doing business, make sure that you restrict yourself to that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do. And be happy with that and be patient. This is where the barakah lies. If you go for something else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might grant you abundance in richness, but wallahi, it's going to be a musibah in the future for you. No matter how much you see the profit, you will never be happy. We have seen this a lot. People will be impatient, and they will go and take that which is haram for them. But at the end of the day, they will never be satisfied. They will keep on putting them in depression. So don't do that. Be patient, and grow slowly, and grow gradually. The problem is sometimes I just want to be rich once. Don't do that. This life is temporary, and there is a purpose, and there is a wisdom as existing in this life. And as a Muslim, you must not, contradict this purpose with any dunya. When there is a contradiction between the dunya and the purpose in which you are created for, shouldn't be any second thought. Should be only one thing. which is to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should be the life of a Muslim. So any deal, any mu'amala, any transaction, any investment that you decide to do, first contact the scholars. If you are not in the capacity to decide, contact the scholars and give them the detail, the detail of that transaction. Every single tiny thing. Explain to them. Don't get bored. Explain to them whatever exists. Let them have the clear understanding of the thing first and the ruling based on that. Whatever they tell you, just be patient and go and do it. And I also advise us not to get distracted and steeped by so many people who are affiliated to the companies as advisors, and many of them, they don't even know they should have that much. They don't even know they should have that much, and they are the ones who are advising. And some of them, they do know, but unfortunately, dunya is more than righteousness and honesty. So you have to be very careful when you are choosing the person who to depend on. You are looking for the fatwa concerning the matter of transaction, whatever you want to do. So these are the words I would like to share with you to conclude this subject. We have learned some of that which is mentioned by the fuqaha, which I do believe is more than enough, inshallah, to guide us to the right path whenever we are dealing with others in terms of sale or investment or partnership or whatever. Other than that, whenever you need a question, we will like Allah. If you think I can benefit you, I will be always around, inshallah. Trying my best. If I don't reply you as soon as I see your message, I will find the time, inshallah. And we would like Allah to reply you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good and subsequent life. إنه بكل جميل كفيل سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.